Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, it's been a minute
Yeah.
since we've been here.
Welcome to Coffee and Dates podcast.
You're welcome.
What's going on? What do you want to talk about today?
Well, should we address why we haven't?
No.
Okay, let's just pretend like we just did an episode.
Yeah.
Not even address it. Okay. Yeah, so one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today was, I think we're at kind of a point in our lives where, we started looking into buying a house. And that's opened like a can of worms
Yeah.
in terms of, like just financial discussions, and then more importantly, like Islamic beliefs behind what is permissible and what is not. I don't want to get too much into that though, because neither of us are good at any of that stuff,
Yeah.
I don't think that's really our forte, but it's more just like the pressure of like reaching certain, like, not financial goals, but like having certain things by certain ages, So, for example, I think we have a few years before we get there, but like it's not very common in our social spheres to be 40 years old and still renting, So that puts you in a position where you have a lot of pressure to like buy a house.
Yeah, social pressure.
Yeah, social pressure.
Or unspoken social pressure. And it's not like your friends are saying, hey, like, buy a house.
Yeah, but our parents are,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's, if you can't afford a house, you can't afford a house. So
Yeah, but I think it's crazy that I want to understand how anyone's buying a house. I think this is just more of a vent, but with at least with, what page we're on, with Islamic beliefs and stuff, is just, we don't want to go into like a mortgage, right? If you want to explain a little bit about I don't know, Riba or something, I don't know.
what? Yeah, Riba is bad.
No, well, apparently some people don't think that though, right?
Yeah.
So it gets a little murky, but yeah, it's just we're told you can't do this thing, right? You're not supposed to take out these loans, and it's a pretty clearly stated thing in our religion, I would say. But we have put so much pressure on young adults to buy a house that it's just impossible in America. And so that's the argument that's usually being made. It's impossible in America.
To purchase a home.
Yeah, without having a mortgage.
Well, not impossible, but yeah, it's extremely difficult too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's different levels of, people buying homes that's not straight up just cash, which is very, very rare. I think there's people who take traditional loans from a bank, and they don't care about the Islamic ruling, or they don't really consult with anyone who might be knowledgeable on the topic about what they're doing, and they're just doing it because hey,
yeah, they just don't know.
They just don't know, or they don't care.
Okay.
And they're just purchasing a home, and then that way through a traditional bank, they're going to Chase, getting a home mortgage, and just going through that way, 30-year fixed rate, boom, they got a house. Then there's people who do that route, but take the opinion of some local scholars here in Chicago, where they're the opinion is there's no interest between Muslim and non-Muslim in the land that we're in right now. So then there's those people who would go to a Chase, take a mortgage out, boom, they have a house, 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Then there's people who don't go those ways. They go the right way of Islamic financing, which is guidance residential, UIF, and then they'll get a mortgage through these organizations, and boom, they have a house, 30-year fixed rate. And yeah, that's how people are purchasing homes. So it is what it is. There's people who think the practice that guidance and UIF is a little shady for them, so they don't want to go that route. And they don't purchase home. And I think we don't fall under any of those categories, so we're kind of just waiting till we have enough cash, which is probably going to be never.
Yeah, that's basically it. So like, why are there people who think that Islamic mortgages are also like not okay?
I mean, I don't know the details too in depth, but at least people who have taken these mortgages, what they say happens is like, okay, like they do a deal with company X, that's the Islamic mortgage company, and then a few like months later they get like something in the mail from like Sally Mae, Fannie, Freddie Mac, whatever, all these loan people, these loan companies, which are standard interest rate loans in the US, and they're sending them a bill like, hey, you have to pay this much. And I think it gets confusing for people when they see that, because they're like, oh, like what's going on is they feel or they think that what's going on is Guidance, UIF, or whatever company is basically just like, control F, replace interest rate with profit rate on the documents. And it, it to some people, they're like surprised, like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. And then, but they're kind of just stuck doing it.
Yeah.
And other people kind of understand, like they have like more knowledge about the topic, or like, oh, well, what's actually going on is this, which I don't really know or understand, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I feel like unless you have like a degree in both like Islamic law and finance, like it's really hard to have these discussions, especially for the majority of people, like the lay people like us, who are just like, trying to figure it out, trying to do the right thing, wanting to take that next step. It's like you don't even know who to ask, because there's so many varying opinions. You have like a sheikh and a scholar 5 minutes from us saying it's, the worst thing to do in the world. And then, like a few miles away, there are like, heads of like Islamic schools who are saying like, oh, it's completely fine to do any kind of mortgage. So it's really confusing. It's overwhelming too, But, I think like, and we talked about this with like student loans too. It's like, I think it's like I don't even think like these are the discussions that we should be so focused on. I think the discussion is like, why aren't there just easier solutions for Muslims, So for example, like one of the things that we've discussed with like our real estate agent is like owner financing, and so like that it's basically it's the Islamic principle of like murabaha, which is, like I own a home, and then I'm willing to sell it to you for a higher price. I'm going to make a profit off of it, and then you're going to be paying me installments until you own the home. And so, I mean, like it's a pretty good concept, and a lot of Muslims are, selling homes in our areas, right? And we'll like have a real estate agent reach out to them and be like, oh, this is something we're interested in. We have like very secure jobs, like we're good for the money, obviously, and stuff. But like they'll just be like, absolutely not, because they've already signed on to another mortgage somewhere else, so they need the money. Like they need the full cash. Like they don't have the time to have this investment for the community. So I just think like it's it's just something that I feel like a lot more people need to be a lot more wary of, like inshallah, if we ever do own a home and decide to like, like upsize or downsize, like, I would hope this is something that we would like keep in mind, for like another young couple, to just make it easier on them. Because I think we're just all putting ourselves in the situation where like you really don't have any other options.
Yeah, no, I think people don't want to do owner financing because they have to pay off the mortgage that they're currently moving out of. So they can't.
They can't afford it,
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're like, oh, like...
they want to screw people over.
Yeah.
This is something like we also discussed like with student loans. You know, and I know everyone has different opinions on like whether or not you can take interest with student loans, and everyone's like free to have those opinions. But like I'm under the opinion that you're like you're not supposed to, like an interest loan is still an interest loan no matter what your intention is. But we were talking about how like like in my family, like when I went to school and stuff, like we kind of had to get creative with like finding money to like pay for it and stuff. And so I was able to like, go through it without any loans, without interest loans. I definitely had loans, just no interest loans, right? Like it was kind of crazy to me that like when I was in school, I was surrounded by Muslims whose parents were very wealthy, who did have to like amass like insane amount of like interest-based loans, when their parents like within a year could make like basically the tuition. And so like when you and I talked about it like afterwards, like like discuss kind of that cultural difference, like you were explaining to me how like within the Desi community, like that's just not something that people do for each other. Like they just don't give out loans for these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, at least I don't know of anybody who's done that. Also, like I think the people you went to med school with, they how we were talking about the home loan thing. They might just be of the kind of people who are like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm doing a loan, interest loan. I don't really care. Yeah. Like, and to people who, I mean, if you're trying to make money and you're trying to accumulate wealth, it makes sense to take those interest-based loans, only because you can make that money back better in like the market if you just put it in
instead of paying it off cash.
Instead of just paying it off cash. So like to somebody who doesn't care about these like rulings or what's haram, what's halal, or they're kind of just like I mean, I don't want to like put them in a box, but like basically like only care about the dunya, then then it's just like whatever, like take the interest-based loan and like I'm gonna, instead of paying off your tuition, I'm gonna go make money on your tuition that could have been just wasted on your tuition.
I like that's, I'm gonna stand up for my classmates for a second, but like that's definitely not like what box they were in. I think they were in the box of like they had to, like they just didn't have a choice. There was
that's not had to though. That's they're choosing.
My argument is like
they're choosing to do it. That's different than.
But no, not the kid themselves. It's like
the family is choosing to go into an interest-bearing loan.
Yeah.
But like, why would they do that?
Yeah, well, no, I just think like it's become so normalized because it's everyone is like in the
so they fall under that first thing.
No, it's not though. That's the thing is I think even people who are as extreme as like interest-based loans are absolutely haram. Like it's like the worst thing. But there is no other option. There is no other option for me to pursue this path. There are.
Yeah, but the way you just described these people are as wealthy, so they do have another option, but they're choosing not to take it because
it's been so normalized, though.
But that's
we're saying the same.
Option. We're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. They don't care about the ruling.
Yeah, I think
because they do have an option, but they're choosing not to do that option. So like they don't care about it. Whereas like somebody who comes from a middle class or lower middle class, like their family cannot pay off tuition for like post grad education or whatever, what do you like what are they like that's different than somebody who does have the option, where you're describing wealthy families just choosing not to.
But like, do you think there's a difference though in terms of like, okay, if I'm a lower or like middle class like student who is trying to go through the school and stuff, and my parents can't pay for it, versus like someone whose parents could pay for it, like, I mean, I guess we're getting too much into like,
I mean,
rulings and
we're
stuff. But
we're also not.
Is there a difference?
Yeah, I think that's a huge difference. But we're also like, I don't know, like what, like you don't know what situation their family's in, whatever. Like this might be their only option of getting like any kind of like stability. So it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, I at least I don't know. I mean, I'm not too connected with like Desis besides my like family, like my cousins and stuff. But I don't know, like people who just like give out loans, just like, like, hey, take this money
Yeah.
and go do, go build. But like that doesn't, I haven't, I mean, nobody's offered me money, maybe because I'm not that like kind of person people want to invest in, but nobody's come up to me like, hey, like take like $20,000 and like, just give it back to me, $20,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just like something, again, I just think our community really needs to change that. Like, I think, getting loans from like your local masjid and stuff like that should just start becoming.
It should be normalized. I mean, there's organizations like Continuous Charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like for home loans, guidance, UIF, like they're doing, they're taking steps towards something that, wasn't offered elsewhere. So.
But, what made me really be like, okay, there's no way we can do these Islamic finances is when we explained Islamic finance to our white real estate agent. And he was like, that just sounds like a mortgage.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he was like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, but again, like, I don't know what it, like, there's so many scholars who have signed off on it.
Yeah.
Who are not like exactly what you said. They're scholars in Islam and they're like very well versed in finance. So like, of course they know more than you and I, and they signed off on it. So it's just like, like who are we to say like, oh, they're doing this the wrong way or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just like a really annoying position. I think that like, especially our generation is in, where it's just like you're kind of put in like a very narrow like decision-making process. Like you just don't really have many other options, and at the same time it's like, well, if you just continue to rent, you're just making a bad financial decision. So again, I think it is, I know, I understand it is the social pressure, but then you also start feeling like, am I doing something wrong by not like pursuing these options that like everyone around me is?
I mean, like that's, I think, all in your head. Like,
no,
I don't like. I've never thought to myself, oh, like, I think you said it last night, like, oh, like you're the only person in your friend group who rents, and I was like, yeah, I never thought about it, but yeah, I think I am. But I mean, like I mentioned one other friend, but you're like, oh no, but he doesn't live here, so it doesn't count.
No, that's very true. Yeah, like if someone's living in a totally different like.
Okay, yeah, whatever. But okay, yeah, if he doesn't count, like, but it never even crossed my mind, like, oh, wait, what? Like, no, I think you choose to think about it if that's on your mind, if that's on your mind, then you're choosing to think about it, rather than just being like, oh, like to me, I'm like, oh, we have a roof over our head, we have food on our plate, things are good.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
But like, there's no like, I'm not thinking like, oh, this person has X, this person has Y. I mean, come to think of it, a lot of my, like, also my friends own cars. I lease cars, but also they have a lot nicer cars than me. But I never think about that. I've never thought like, oh, like, dang, like this guy's like,
Yeah.
He's got a really nice car. Like, why don't I have that?
Yeah. I guess, so the thing is like I don't do that. So like, when I like graduated from training and stuff, like I stayed close with like those friends, and like most are non-Muslim. So when they, like upgraded their lifestyle and stuff, I never thought like, oh, like why am I not buying this like, like level house or level car and stuff, because I knew like it's like a whole different financial like
they're playing a different game.
Yeah, it's like I know I'm not gonna ever be able to relate, to this, like to these decisions, right? But I think that's the thing is like, I am comparing to like people who are in our financial position.
Yeah, but you also like, what I laid out in the beginning is like, there's like those different types of people who don't care about taking loans, people who take the opinion that there's no riba between Muslim, non-Muslim. Then there's people who say they take the Islamic loans.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you don't fall under any of those categories. So
so what are the people who don't fall in any of those categories doing? Because somehow they're still buying houses.
No, they're renting. Who like I don't know anybody who's bought straight up cash. Actually I know one person, but like mashallah, like like it's also a very modest house. It's not something that like it's not something that like, the type of home that you and I have been searching for right now. But it's also like, he bought it straight up cash. He's chilling.
Yeah.
He's raising a family there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And like, yeah, there are definitely other options. Like we can look into like foreclosed homes and stuff, and or just like try to save or find someone that will like accept to do owner financing. But yeah, it's just been very difficult, and I think it has also. I mean, I'm sure it has to do with the housing market right now too, because. So like when my parents were going through the whole buying a house thing, they did not go through what we're going through. Obviously that was a very long time ago, but they were like, yeah, we just like knocked on a guy's house who was like, selling it, and we were like, hey, like, this is what we can do for you. We can.
I think that your parents started buying around like the crash. So,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
yeah.
like it
was very different.
They had they weren't in a position where everyone else was like, oh, like going under, so they were able to kind of take homes off people's hands.
Yeah. Well, my point is, if you're selling a house in our area code, I can send you our W-2.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just hard. I think like, subhanAllah, like I feel like I wasn't very into comparing lifestyles until we had a kid, And now I'm just like, you just want the best for that kid. Like it's not about me. I'm not like I want a big house. It's just like I want a yard, like things like that. Like that's what it's just like that's like what I'm like thinking about. It's like, oh, like am I taking something away from her for being so like steadfast in like this one ideology that like maybe that I don't even need to be thinking like this. Maybe I'm just making our lives more difficult. And she doesn't get a yard.
Again, I think you're overthinking. I don't think our kid's thinking anything like, oh, like my parents are taking this, like we take her to the park, we take her to like, you take her on these play dates, these play cafes, like she's having a good time, I think. So
yeah.
I don't think you need to worry about like, oh, like, going into like sacrificing what you believe in to have a backyard.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, I think like I just really want to hear from like other people, like what like your philosophy is, and like why you think that way. I'm really curious, genuinely. Like what are like I just want to take a poll of like everyone in like our generation who's like where we're at right now in their stage of life, who are like looking into buying a house, or if they've already bought, or if they're just going to rent, for the next 10 years, like, what made you choose that decision? And yeah, I just, I think it's good to like talk about this kind of stuff though more openly. Because I think, when we're all like being kind of weirdly secretive and stuff, it kind of makes you feel like, oh, like what am I doing wrong,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely this should open discussion about stuff like this, because I think some people who don't even know that another opinion exists or something like that, they can look more into it if they'd like to, speak to the scholars who take that opinion and, kind of make a decision for themselves. And I think, you're right. I think people should talk about it more. I think it'll kind of open up avenues for other people who don't really know what to do in these situations.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, wait, sorry, what were you saying?
Like you don't know what you're doing.
I don't. No. And that's the thing. That's like what actually makes this so difficult is that it's not even clear cut for myself, like, of course, like, these scholars are like we talked about this, like, they've been doing these studies for longer than I've been alive. Like, they've been like looking into this stuff. They, are insanely learned and all that stuff. But so I could never be the one to be like, oh, well, that opinion is wrong or anything like that. It's just like, it's just so, scary as like a Muslim, like, saying like, just doing something that you don't really have to do, when like, there's another scholar who is equally as like, knowledgeable, who says like, this is like the worst sin that you could ever commit. Like, it's just like, oh my God, like where, like, how
Yeah, I mean,
how do you navigate
the
that?
thing is, like both of them would say riba is a sin, but the thing is, the other one will say that this is not riba,
This
this
is
is
not
not considered
considered
riba.
riba.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the distinction, I think. But that's something you have to talk to about with the knowledgeable people, not me.
Yeah, I know, but then like I don't know, man. I think maybe I just need to like go to like maybe I just need to get like a different degree or something.
No, I think you should.
And then after a few years and decide based on that what I learned, I'll come out of like a cave after 10 years and be like, this is what I found.
Yeah, no, I think we're in a position. I mean, like I said, I'm comfortable renting, but I think we're in a position where, we could save for like, a few years and be able to buy a house cash, and it's just a matter of a few years of just waiting and renting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So is that what we're gonna do? Is the discussion? That's what we're gonna do.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just hard, I feel like, to figure out like what the right thing is. And the social pressure is that I am putting on myself, that I am making up.
I've never had a friend say to me, "Hey man, why are you renting? Why are you renting a house? Are you dumb?" Nobody's ever said that to me. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think in general, girls feel a different kind of societal pressure that guys are able to just like kind of block off. Like you feel it at every stage in life. Like you feel it before you get married, you feel it like before you have a kid, and then you feel it even with like these like big purchases. Like people just expect certain things from you, and they're kind of just like almost waiting. That's why like, when you like each one of these steps, right? Like the three that I just mentioned, like the marriage, the kid, and the house, like there's always like gatherings associated with all those things, Like, you have a wedding, and then like with the kid, you have a baby shower, akika. And then with the house, you invite people over, you read Quran.
But I think
Like-
the only thing that matters in each of those gatherings is what are you serving for food? And that's the most important thing. Always, always. I've never been to a wedding where I've been like, oh, like the centerpiece, that was really nice. I've always been to a wedding and been like, that food was delicious.
Yeah.
And I still think about certain weddings where I'm like,
The food was so good.
the food was so good. I remember I went to my friend's sister's wedding, and the food was like, they gave like a menu, and I still think about it. This was over a decade ago, and I don't even know where it was. I don't even remember what banquet hall, what the stage design was. No, I'm not thinking about any of that. I don't even remember their names. I just remember the food, and I remember it being so good. Yeah. So like that, I think that's the most important thing is food.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we can end it there.
Yeah, I think
Food.
so. Yeah.
So food is a thing that brings people together. So
Yeah.
not like, oh, what you're.
It doesn't matter how much you spend on a house.
It does not. It
you're not
honestly
serving
doesn't.
good food.
It honestly doesn't, because I've been to I've been to like family parties where the house is nicer but the food isn't as good, and I just don't feel as happy. But then when I go to a family party where the house is smaller, or we might be cramped in like a small room, like all the cousins are in a small room, but like the food is good, and those are the parties I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
Yeah, you don't think about, I wonder like if the bathroom had the nice tiles or whatever. Like, no, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what's the biryani situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, food.
Yeah.
It always comes back to food.
Yeah, I've noticed that about you. Like, yeah, I have.